This one's called Super Me. Sang Yu is a lonely, poor scriptwriter with no job and friends, and she also has dead parents, sadly. His main problem, however, is that he hasn't been able to sleep in over half a year. Because everything he does, there's always a demon appearing in his dreams and transforms into violent nightmares. He wakes up right after his dream self dies and then intends to do some writing. But his landlord knocks at his door claiming he's brought him some food. But Sang-yo escapes through the window because he doesn't have any rent money. As he walks the streets, he remembers all the experts he's visited on the subject of dreams. He's visited psychologists and doctors and scientists and even religious devotees. They all had different theories on what dreams do and can mean, but nothing concrete could help him in any way. He stops at a food stand and asks for a crepe with no eggs, because that's really all he can afford. But the crepe man adds an egg anyways, just for free. While he waits for his meal to be done, he watches the cafe across the street where Uar, the girl he has a crush on, works. He takes him to a restaurant where he makes him watch as he eats, scolding him for not respecting his contract and not handing in a script in time. Sang-yu tries to explain his insomnia, but nobody really cares, so the script is demanded to be done in 10 days or less. Afterwards, Sang-yu returns to his apartment, only to find it locked, all his stuff in the hallway. His landlord has finally kicked him out. He goes to a cafe to sit if he can get some writing done there, but he's too hungry to think, and he ends up falling asleep. The demon appears again, puts his chains around Sang-yu's neck, and starts banging his head on the table. Once again, Sang-yu wakes up in the morning right after his dream because he's dead, and discovers his laptop has been stolen. The man joins him on the roof, and while Sang-yu eats, he tells him about people's different views on death and dreams and reaches a simple conclusion: when Sang-yu is having these nightmares, he should tell himself, "I'm dreaming," to be able to get out of them faster. Sang-yu stays on the roof watching Huaer until night falls. Then he sells his cell phone in order to get some money to buy food. He goes to a convenience store where he considers stealing some things but changes his mind when he notices he's being watched. The food he purchases is eating outside the store, where Sang-yu is shocked to be suddenly approached by the girl, which shows concern for him. Sang-yu holds onto the sword as he remembers the crepe man's advice and reminds himself that he's dreaming, which allows him to wake up right in the middle of being thrown. In real life, he's also flying through the shattered glass, and while he isn't stabbed, he mysteriously finds the demon's sword in his hand. He runs away faster than the ambulance arrives, and he stays at the park all night, examining the sword and making sure he isn't dreaming again. In the morning, he goes to the flea market to sell it, and all the buyers' eagerness to buy makes him realize he has something valuable in his hands. He decides to explore a little more, and that's when the demon appears, chasing after him with a giant gold axe. The demon hits him with his weapon and tosses him around, causing quite a number of injuries. But after a few hits, Sang-yu manages to grab the axe and says, "I'm dreaming." Once again, he wakes up with the weapon in his hand and had no wounds to be seen. The axe is sold at the same pawn shop, and the money is immediately spent again. Sang-yu gets nice clothes, a new car, and spends the night drinking with some woman at a bar. Oh, Sang-yu. When he returns to his hotel room, he doesn't let them come inside. He just gives them money for a cab before going to bed. Tonight he's trying a new trick. He looks at pictures of an immortal museum in a book before falling asleep. And the trick works, because the dream happens in the same exact place he saw on the photographs. Back in the dream, he begins running again, and after dodging a couple of bullets with a particular exceptional jump, he grabs two antiques before saying, "I'm dreaming," and then he wakes up. To show how grateful she is, she invites him to dinner, where they discuss their new shared business and how the girl expresses her suspicions of Sang-yu wanting more out of this deal than just money. From then on, Sang-yu goes into dream adventures regularly while Sang-ji protects his sleeping body. Some of his dreams include, for example, robbing a bank, where he shows how much control he's learning to have over his powers, He's starting to fight the demon back, and he can move objects around with his mind. Talk about evolution and progress. He also starts bringing bigger objects back, like a red car. Sometime later, the girl at the cafe is full of clients because Sang-yu has sent Sang-ji to pay people on the streets to come. Not wanting to be caught in his lies, Sang-yu writes a script for real and gives it to Sang-ji to read while he dreams. The girl is constantly in his mind. He dreams about being in bed with many copies of her, so he forces himself to wake up pretty quickly, only to find Sang-ji crying at how good the script is. When she wonders if he'll ever disappear in the same sudden way he showed up, he promises her he'll never let her away. Afterward, they go to her apartment, and while she refreshes herself in the bathroom, Sang-yu practices a possible confession. However, he finds himself having to leave because suddenly there is something hitting him on the chest. And when he checks it in the mirror, he sees 2 smoking black lines on his skin. Once he makes it to his place, he ignores the party Sang-ji is having with a bunch of women and goes directly to bed. Sang-ji gets ready to collect tonight's treasure, but Sang-yu tells him it's not necessary. This time he's sleeping alone. As punishment for his indiscretion, Kwang-ji puts on some golden knuckles and beats him up, while Sang-ji secretly begins to wake up. When Kwang-ji turns at the girl next, she kicks him in self-defense, and that's the chance that Sang-ji takes to jump in with a vase he uses to hit the man holding her down. Sang-yu bites the thug holding him and manages to escape, but not without getting stabbed first. Only one normal man isn't enough to go against 2 trained men though. So Sang-ji is beaten to death. One of the thugs manages to capture Sang-ju and the girl upstairs, beating them up and tossing them around without even caring that Sang-yu stabs his back with a dagger. After looking around, he touches a glowing door arc and starts seeing flashbacks of his life, including both real and live dreams, and even with a version of him that was taken by the ambulance that night outside the convenience store. When that's over, he walks to an area with a giant crystal wall, which he starts hitting as he repeatedly says, "I'm dreaming," over and over until he passes out from blood loss. Suddenly his body's transforming, and Sang-ju finds himself becoming the demon. With the machete that appears in his hand, he starts hitting the crystal wall while picturing himself as a demon in various conversations that already happened, but giving them a twist. Instead of sitting there and listening, in these versions he imagines, he hits his landlord and Sang-ji for not being nicer to him. When the wall finally breaks, the demon comes out in Sang-ju's living room, where Sang-ju's body's waking up as well. Not only Sang-ji turns down the money, but he gives him more in return, because he's managed to sell one of Sang-ju's old script. To celebrate, Sang-ju is the one that will cover their bill. Many days later, content and happy with his life, Sang-ju goes to see the crepe man to order some food, so the man takes the chance to give him back his money and shows him a scar on his stomach, because he used to have the same power as well. And learn that this humble life is preferable than all the riches of the world. Just like the Bible says, what shall it profit a man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? As Sang-ju listens to his story, the ruins from his last dream appear behind them, and it's revealed the new demon that killed the thugs has been following him since he reappeared at the convenience store. There's a lot of cutouts in this movie. If you have received value on this video, I believe you know what to do. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for listening. There's a lot of cutouts in this movie from the actual movie, but that's okay because we just recapped it in about 9 minutes. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for listening.